Georgia gave up 41 and still found a way to win in Neyland Stadium yesterday. Stunning. Stunning atmosphere, stunning everything. We were there. This is about as good as college football gets. I wish so badly that people who have not been to Neyland Stadium on a Saturday afternoon could be there for a big conference game. Georgia's in town. It's a back-and-forth affair. They grab the early lead. Georgia takes the lead. Tennessee takes it back. And there we are all the while. This was the scene. I tried to tell you guys, follow on the Instagram story. That's Bill Martin, friend of the program. He takes us up on the roof of the press box every morning of a game day when we're in Knoxville and it's empty and then it's full. And that's what it looks like down there on field level. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, we witnessed our first 5 Chalai Classic yesterday. 5 out of 5 Chalai, which for the newly washed around here is the plural of chalice, which also makes no sense to you, but stick around, it will. This was a classic. You rate it in whatever metric you want to. There were fourth downs. There were new stars emerging. There were a couple of quarterbacks playing at a higher level yesterday than several of the alleged Heisman favorites that I was urged to believe in the preseason. Man, what a day. Overtime, field goal drama. It was unbelievable, and I'm sure most of America watched. I can't believe that there are American citizens that chose not to watch this. Not people that got dragged off to fall weddings against their will. I mean, there were people who just chose to, hang out and go to a park yesterday. You do you. We'll do us over here. It is so hard to cut the head off the snake, isn't it? That was part of the game preview we did, if you'll recall, last week. Animal rights activists came after us. No, even they say do what you want to with snakes, as does a certain wife of mine. But I said, it's really hard to beat Georgia. Not groundbreaking analysis. But I think, let me pull this table over towards me. It's when you haven't beaten a team in a long time, it starts to feel like you can't. And that's not ever the case. It just means you have not. We've gone over this rule on this show many times before, cannot versus have not. And I still believe that Tennessee merely has not beaten Georgia 9 out of the last 9 tries. Eventually they will. I mean, Bama got up to what, Jesse, 14 or 15 in a row, and then they've beaten them 2 out of 3 years now. So, it will eventually happen. However, up until the moment where it does happen, it feels like it's impossible to do because it's really hard to cut the head off the snake. This is the most points Tennessee has scored against Kirby Smart, and it was in their own building, and it still wasn't enough. Of the many things, and there are many things that stand out about Kirby Smart's Georgia football program, but one of the things I've always admired is how resilient they are. That's a word that gets thrown around a lot. He uses the word a lot. But a lot of times, if you'll notice, whether it be your program or a program you watch, you notice how over time, programs develop styles. Coaches develop styles. Fan bases develop styles they like to win in. Florida's may be different than Georgia's, may be different than Tennessee's, may be different than Kansas State's. But over time, even when you start rolling, well, when you're not rolling, you just want to win, period. But when you are rolling, there's a comfort factor in playing a certain way. The thing I've always admired about Kirby in Georgia is, he's got a style. He's a defensive-minded coach. Normally, you're not used to seeing them give up a whole lot. But when they do, it feels so uncomfortable. If you're a Georgia fan and you're watching and other guy just marches down the field and scores on you to open the game, and they got 21 on the board really early in the game, and you're thinking to yourself, man, I hoped we wouldn't give up 21 all afternoon. It's not even close to halftime yet. And then you go on to find out the other guy's going to be up in the low 30s, mid 30s. They may crack the 40-point barrier. That's not comfortable for a Georgia fan, even if you're going to go on to win the game. That's not comfortable. Saban at Alabama was the same way. That's not comfortable. That's not the way a Georgia football game is supposed to look, because they normally don't look that way. The most impressive part of one of the many things that Kirby Smart's been able to accomplish there is they can get way out of their comfort zone and still look comfortable. There is no world where I'm sitting there thinking Georgia is going to have to score in the mid-40s to win this thing. But yet they had to yesterday, and they did. and they didn't do it with a fifth-year veteran senior quarterback, and they didn't do it with dominant returning starters along the offensive line. It was none of that. It was just fighting. Because as many guys come through that program and leave and go on to the NFL as they do, that's the one thing that remains. Doesn't always mean every team's going to be as good as the previous year's team. This team, Kirby said it in the postgame, I fully believe it's got a long way to go. Tennessee probably got a long way to go. A lot of folks got a long way to go. But man, how prepared they are at being uncomfortable has always impressed me. I was really surprised at the route the game went. Over-under was 50.5, both of them, with the help of one overtime period, get above 40. Game had every reason to be a quarterback struggle. If you'll notice across the country yesterday, and in general this year so far, there are a lot of quarterbacks that a lot was expected of that have struggled. You would think, for all the world, if there's going to be a quarterback struggle fest on the week 3 slate, well, couldn't it be Joey Aguilar going up against a legitimate defense for the first time? Couldn't it be Gunnar Stockton going on the road for the first time against quality competition? And both of them just lit it on fire yesterday. Padlock stat, though, as we popped the paper, Georgia was 5 of 5 in the red zone for 26 points. And Tennessee was 2 of 3 for 14, including the missed field goal. There were really no definitive statements. It's always really kind of fascinated me how these back and forth games where either person could win and someone misses a field goal and then the other guy takes advantage of it. Great. That's great. That's the name of the game. You're trying to win the game. But sometimes, if you're listening to the call-in shows on the way home or you're talking to your buddies about the game, there's so many things that you speak about in a positive nature after a win that if you change nothing else about them but the outcome, you would speak negatively about. Like if you didn't run the ball well enough. Well, if you win 44-41, that's cool. But if you lose 44-41, oh man, we sucked running the ball. That's what cost us the game. Well, there really is no definitive. When a game is this balanced on the seesaw, there really is no definitive. I wondered whether Gunnar Stockton could take advantage of what I thought was a vulnerability, was a matchup edge, his wide receivers versus Tennessee's secondary. I wondered that. Well, he answered the question pretty definitively. Yes, he can. He was 23 of 31, 304 passing yards. Just an insane performance. Just an amazing performance. I do not care what Tennessee was missing yesterday. Because you would have talked to a lot of Tennessee folks before that game, and they would have told you, we still feel pretty good. Okay, these guys filling in the secondary, it's not like we got them off the scrap heap. They're good players. They're experienced players. They're not as good as the starters. Otherwise, they'd be the starters. Man, Gunnar Stockton went in there just fearless. I think it helps a lot when you connect early on. The first pass, I think the first play from scrimmage that he had, they hit on a deep ball, kind of reminiscent of what they tried to do with Beck, and I think maybe Arian Smith. Was it the Bama game last year? They tried to hit him down the sideline. He drops the ball because that's all Georgia receivers did last year. Well, this one connected. And all of a sudden, instead of your quarterback starting out like Arch Manning started out the Ohio State game and your play calling going into a shell, no one trashing Mike Bobo today, by the way. It's funny. Instead of that happening, you got a quarterback with a hot hand. Doesn't really matter how much experience he does or doesn't have. If he's getting the job done, you keep letting him get the job done. Hey, wait just a second. I appreciate you guys watching. Most of you are subscribed. If you're not, please do so. It's free. It helps us keep the show free, and that's how we do college football year-round. All right, back to the video. And then the other part of it that I wondered, okay, well, can Tennessee stretch the field? Because they've been notoriously incapable of doing that against Georgia. And Nico last year, longest pass play, 17 yards. Joey Aguilar, 72, 56, 32, 21, and 18. He had 5 passes yesterday, longer than Nico's longest pass last year. 3 of those went for touchdowns. Tennessee, though, only had 1 rush of 10-plus yards. So they stayed committed to that ground game, but Georgia's not going to let you run the ball on them like that. They're just not. Tennessee actually had a decent enough day, and they're going to stay committed to that thing. But Georgia, I mean, just to recap how impressive this is now, very imperfect team, because there is no perfect team out there yet. So you don't have to keep qualifying your statements about that. 3rd week of the season, to go on the road with a first-time starter at quarterback, and you're giving up, 38, I guess, in regulation, and still winning the game, knowing knowing you've got a laundry list of things you think you can improve leaving. It's impressive to me. So consider this. Okay, I'm going to talk Tennessee for a second. I'm going to get right back to Georgia. Consider this, and this is not merely me talking, although I agree with what's about to be said. There was a coach that was rewatching some of the stuff this morning. He was texting me back and forth. This is a head coach, and he said, "You know what's crazy about Heupel and about Tennessee? ... I said, "What is that?" He said, "The quarterback situation is such that it's obvious they trust Joey Aguilar to do more through 3 games than they ever did Nico at any point in him being at Tennessee." And I thought about it, and I said, that's probably why that guy runs a program. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I just don't know that anyone could have expected that. I don't know that the most diehard, optimistic Tennessee fan could expect that through 3 weeks, I mean, Joey Aguilar was going to be called on to need to score a lot on Georgia, and did. At no point in his career, I don't care if he played 10 more years in Knoxville, was Nico Iamaleava ever going to tote the jock of the performance that Joey Aguilar turned in yesterday. First time ever for that combination of words on the show. But I feel it was necessary. I actually feel really good about Tennessee leaving this game. It's an expanded playoff era, so by no means is it the end of anything. More than any team, this is not a finished product. So I know if I'm Tennessee, I'm going to get guys back. I know I got a quarterback I can win with. I know I got some real good talent in that receiver room, probably underrated by me coming into the season. I know good and well quarterback was underrated by me. I just never could have expected it to click this quick. Never could have expected that. How in the world do you have what happened to them at the quarterback position and have it be an upgrade? That's one thing where once Heupel gets done, 38 years from now, when he's done and he writes his memoirs, I hope he's at least honest and says, yeah, that one kind of fell in our lap. Now, once it did, we made the most of it, and we're really good, and hey, I'll give you credit there. But there's no way you could have designed this. So injuries, new quarterback, that's great. I feel good about Tennessee. Again, here's the caveat. It's evergreen. Not a perfect team. No one is. You just played a really good one yesterday, and you took them to the wire. The reset, though, that's necessary on Georgia is this. Most of my big fears with Georgia have subsided as well. This game really absolved some fears that I had about either team. If I'm trying to advocate that I think they're going to be a playoff contender, that I think they're going to be SEC championship contenders, I stated my concerns with Tennessee, not there so much anymore once they get healthy. With Georgia, my biggest concern was always going to be, all right, what can I get offensively? What can I get? Because I'm losing Carson Beck. And Carson Beck at his best, the Tennessee game last year, for example, is a guy that can go win a game for me. And, you know, while nobody shed much of a tear when Carson Beck left because of the way it went down, Georgia fans then look at Gunnar Stockton and, just like me, probably say, all right, is this a limited amount that we can get out of him? Could we ever trust him to go win a game for us? No one really knows. Well, we know now. Yeah, you can trust him to go win a game. You sure can. If the big question mark about Georgia is defense, if the big question is not, can we squeeze enough juice out of the offensive sponge, but rather, can Kirby Smart squeeze enough out of the defensive sponge? If that's the lingering question for Georgia as we get into the second, third, and fourth quarters of this season, I'm fine with it. I'll take my chances on Georgia there. So Georgia's got the best odds to win the SEC as of right now. Texas is second. Alabama and LSU tied for third. I got to agree with that. Because if you tell me Georgia's not going to have some terminal offensive flaw, if they're not going to have some terminally low offensive ceiling, I watched them last year not be their vintage selves defensively. When it came time to smash someone up the side of the head with a sledgehammer, they did it to Texas twice. So I trust them defensively. Doesn't have to be vintage Georgia, just opportunistic, and then every now and then sledgehammer to the face. I trust them. If the offensive questions are answered, I trust them the rest of the way. So lot of questions answered on both fronts. This was a really incredible game to be a part of. Afterwards, I mean, if you listen to Kirby in the post game, he flat out said, we probably didn't deserve to win that game. Now, I don't ever believe in saying that. I believe they did deserve to win the game. I believe the team that deserved to win the game won the game. Now, you may feel a little guilty because you got some breaks, but let me ask you this. What if instead of 38-38, it was 38-17 and Tennessee missed a field goal? Well, it would have been probably 38. I mean, it would have affected the total maybe or a second half line, but it wouldn't have affected the outcome. No, there's skill in putting yourself in position to benefit when the other guy catches a bad break or when injury happens or something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to disagree with Kirby and say Georgia absolutely deserved to win the game. Now, Tennessee did plenty enough to win the game, but they didn't take it when it was there. Georgia then did take it. So I do disagree with them. I think in that case, I think I have a little better feel about Georgia football than Kirby. It's unfortunate it happens that way, but it happens sometimes.